ended up with our guest of honor.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, darling.
I'm Kimberly, and I'm a native South Carolinian. So I'm from Greenville, South.
Something to say.
That's right. So South Carolina is where I was born and raised in Greenville, and museums brought me to Washington D.C. I've been here, which is 2025. So for 23 years, I've been in Washington D.C. and I've called it home, so it's like my second home. And what do I do? Most of you all know. My day job is I'm the director of the Charles Sumner School Museum and Archives, preserving D.C. public education history, and we see how important that is. People were shouting out their schools, so that's what I do.
Can I stop you? Just say your name. I got some questions for you.
Okay.
We'll get to all of that.
All right.
If that's all right.
That's fine.
Okay.
But let me close out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I got started. So, and he's going to ask me a series of questions.
Yeah,
but
you're messing up my order.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm running this. Thank you. Okay, so you're from South Carolina?
Yes.
Yes.
He's ready, y'all. Yeah, he's ready.
Yeah. And we know you work at the museum?
Yes.
Okay, we got that part. Okay, good. So now, from there, I want to say, what are your early experiences with museums?
So in Greenville, where I grew up, my mother was a librarian.
Ooh.
And so just growing up, I went to museums. But my earliest museum experience was probably the Greenville Art Museum, which is still my favorite museum. They actually have a phenomenal art collection. But of particular, I used to take art classes there, so I did pottery and painting and things like that. So yeah, an art museum is actually really my earliest, most endearing experience. They also used to have a holiday party every year. Where they had like cookies, and then the drink was apple juice and ginger ale. So even when I started doing events at Sumner, that's what we were eating: cookies and apple juice and ginger ale. So it was art, but it was it was a mix of, obviously, through art there's history and in a number of subject matters. So yeah, so if I really think about it, those were my earliest kind of museum experiences. And just growing up, we would go to museums. My family, when we traveled around the country, Hampton, Virginia, we go to early, Fort Sumter and stuff like that, early settlements, all that kind of stuff. So I've always
your
liked.
Parents drove that? Is that your parents are the ones who?
Yeah, That's what we would do, and I was a Girl Scout growing up. My parents are from Georgia, from Thomasville, Georgia, so southwest Georgia. Yeah.
You have siblings?
I do. I have 3 brothers.
Wow.
I'm the only girl.
What's your birth order?
I have 2 older brothers, so I'm the third, and then I have 1 under me.
Yay, third child.
Third child.
So middle child, I guess is what it means. Yeah. So I grew up, having an interest in museums and arts and cultural things.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so is that what drove your direction in pursuing your higher education pursuits?
Probably so. I mean, it goes.
You went to college? Did you go to college?
I did go to college.
Okay. I'm not gonna be presumptuous.
Yeah.
And so, where'd you go to college?
I went to the College of Charleston for undergraduate. So in Charleston,
South Carolina.
In history and African American studies. I'm a history major. Yeah. Okay. And I did well in history. That's kind of what drove me to history. I'm trying to decide. I enjoyed it and I did well in history. But other things, thinking about outside of like traditional museums, I think my love of history really came from like my grandparents and my grandmother here, my paternal grandmother. That's Sarah McIntyre Springle. Nice. And that's her brother. I'll tell y'all about that later. Her brother, Ernest McIntyre. But she was like a documentarian, if you will. She was like pro-education. She had 13 children. Yeah. And she used to have photo albums at the house. So when we go visit in the summer, I'm like, who is this? What's going on? So I was always intrigued by that. I mean, stacks and stacks. She took photographs. She was very civically involved in the community in Thomasville, Georgia. So also my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, who's on this photo here. used to have like boxes. He used to have box with like photos and letters and things in them. So I was always the child that was like asking who's in photos and asking these questions. And both of them, I was only 8 years old when he died, when he transitioned, and then my grandmother died when I was 13. So again, I still feel like there would be so many more questions I would ask, when I came into understanding about my interest in preserving and family history and all of that. But, I got what I could get and definitely laid the foundation. But I wish I could ask them questions, as well. So I think more so than like structured, organized museums is probably just my humanities upbringing. So I mentioned my mother was a librarian. So they used to have these amazing interdisciplinary activities downtown Greenville. So they have an area called Heritage Green. They had like the library, the main library, the art museum is there, still like that. And now they have the children's museum, what used to be the main library, and they built it out. So, for example, they used to do, y'all know the artist Jonathan Green? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he used to come. And they would do green on the green. So he would come and speak. So he was very well known, like all through, even now. But growing up, I knew him all my life. He's out of Beaufort, Hilton Head Island area, but makes these beautiful, colorful pieces. So stuff like that. And there was always like lectures and you name it, all sorts of things. That was kind of my life coming home from school. My mom worked at a small branch of the library, so that's where I went. In middle school on, I lived at the library. So.
So, at any time anybody got questions,
yeah,
I just got the spine of things going on. So you majored in history. Mm-hmm. So the history, like history in general, like U.S. history?
U.S. history.
Okay, so now I know Sumner is Sumner considered a Black history site? Yes.
Yes.
So
I'll say that definitively. Yeah.
So what are your Black history? Do you have Black history experiences in Charleston? Because Charleston is Charleston. I mean, that's what they brought 70% of us up through Charleston.
100%. It's really interesting because thinking about all of that, being a young student there and then reflecting on what it was like in Charleston. Charleston's interesting with its history in and of itself. That Gaston's Wharf is like I think it's where they brought in most enslaved Africans. No, Gaston's Wharf, where the International African American Museum, where it is physically located. That port they brought in the most Africans, period,
in the country,
in the entire throughout the entire transatlantic slave trade. So. Going to school, so College of Charleston, I should know this, but they started before the Revolutionary War, so 1773, 4, something like that. Yeah, and as you know, like any predominantly white institution, which College of Charleston is, they didn't accept their first Black student. I don't know, it might have been late 60s, early 70s, that sort of thing. But yes, we know. Another history of Charleston. There's a book out called Black Majority, and it's about Charleston because they brought so many of us there. There was actually a Black majority in South Carolina in the entire state. Yep. So when I say all of that, I was in downtown Charleston. So, if you go there now, it's been completely gentrified,
It's right on the road, too, College of Charleston.
College of Charleston is right in the center of downtown. So, it's like Calhoun Street and, right? It's in the middle of downtown. Yeah.
The Calhoun thingy.
Yep. The monument. Yes. So, they,
Thank you, Dr. Vance.
was 1770? Yeah, I knew it was super, super early. Yeah, before the Revolutionary War. So that gives you a sense of history. But as far as thinking about Black folks in Charleston, I remember they would always say there's no Black middle class in Charleston. And there was, what you would hear is a lot of people Charlestonians would leave Charleston, they go get their education, whatever, and they live somewhere else. They weren't there. So when you're downtown Charleston, it was mostly low income housing. It was just an interesting dichotomy. And then also, now we're going somewhere, I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina. So I've come to learn more about that place. That's where I'm from, but I don't have a long-term historical reference because Oh shoot, what am I doing? Yeah, because my parents are not from Greenville, South Carolina. They moved there later for work and things like that. They're from, as I mentioned, Thomasville, Georgia. So another interesting thing that happened going to College of Charleston is I learned about this strife contention between I think it was really one-sided with blacks in Charleston. They would call us people from the upcountry, and it was like, we think we better. I was like, where y'all get that from? So they're like low country, and then I know it's the upstate. We don't call it upcountry, but upstate South Carolina. But it's nothing that I carry. I mean, I was born there. It's Greenville. So going down there was a whole this thing about people from the upcountry, black people in particular. I'm talking about how we think they're better than them. I was like, where is this coming from? But I do remember my high school. There was like this championship game between my high school, Southside High School, represent. Nobody knows, but it's okay. Nobody cares. District 25, Tigers, all that. So my high school, they played. I think it was Buse. There was like a whole like brawl, that happened, and this was before I went to the College of Charleston. But I think that's it had something to do with that whole kind of contention. But it was unbeknownst to me. I don't remember what the original question was, but yeah, it was interesting going to school. It was being in the state. I actually grew up traveling to Charleston a lot. We would go to Edisto Island and stuff like that. But being a college student there, you're kind of in a different spectrum, especially when you're interacting with native Charlestonians. That was the other thing. They have Gullah. Their language is different, the way they speak.
Right.
So that was also new as well. So you learn this whole lexicon of words, within that space as well. So yeah, so it was interesting. Oh, you have a question?
Yeah. So with South Carolina roots,
Mhm.
do you have any Gullah Geechee roots? Have you done any of your DNA ancestry?
Not me, because my people are from Georgia. So yeah, I'm not. So again, I am from South Carolina. I'm like a first generation, with my siblings from South Carolina. But my people are from Georgia and Tampa, and I have done some genealogy and found out I have some lineage to Virginia. Surprise. Actually, with the Lemon family is in my family lineage, so that's something that's like a new thing I want to break open. But me, I don't have any known connections to like South Carolina or Georgia, Gullah Geechee culture. A degree.
So, because I know something about you, but you had a teacher who is a prominent African American historian.
Yeah.
So, what's his name?
You talking about Dr. Bernard Powers?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know his influence on you.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because you're going back to that, and yes, obviously.
I'm working for a job, by the way. Let me be very clear about that.
Obviously, there's some influence there, but I think even kind of my redirection of the question, that might have even been more of an influence being, outside the classroom, if you will. I mean, Dr. Powers was a great professor. I mean, I think more of the influence is that I conquered his class because it wasn't easy, but he taught African American history. And it's really funny because I remember at that time, I guess this was 20 some odd years ago, 25 years ago or so, he was talking about kind of the danger of like categorizing African American history separate from, I remember him having discussions about that. But he was just very thorough professor. He was really good. He had excellent lectures. He was a scholar, wrote a book called Black Charlestonians, where he really, so if y'all ever looking for it, it's actually quite interesting because it talks about slavery and free people in Charleston, but in the sense of, most of the time people think about slavery as like this one type of experience, a plantation here, and, all of these things. But in Charleston, enslaved black people could hire themselves out, which kind of really pushed towards a more powerful free class later, because if you could make shoes, you could go and work and you could, earn your own money and like actually save up and buy your freedom and things like that. So it was urban, if you will, a city, and so it was a little bit different. Same thing with like, speaking of Gullah Geechee, I know I'm getting way off the question again, but like Hilton Head Island, Beaufort, places like that. And if y'all watch Underground, y'all might have seen some of this, but I learned a lot about really, I guess with the education part, it's more about slavery probably than I would have anywhere else because of the locale. But the reason why Gullah Geechee culture is so pure, why it's so connected to where we came from in parts of Africa, so connected to Africa, is because they were able to still kind of live as families because those white folks could survive down there in Hilton Head Island. Right? Yep, they were isolated, so they were left alone. They send them down there to go work, but therefore they were able to hold on to traditions and things like that. Yeah, as a result. So yeah, so that's again the way slavery existed throughout globally was different, depending on what was happening. So that was kind of significant. Pearl.
I've been studying like the history of Black studies, so I'm very interested. That's its own thing. I'm interested in how your U.S. history education was at the same campus juxtaposed with your African American, and then that happening on the campus, and then with the backdrop of Gaston Wharf and just the power of place, right? Hilton Head Island, St. Helena Island, Penn Center, like it was the years that you were there.
I was there between 98 and 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, and things have changed. So speaking of Black studies, like there's been an evolution. Like it's like I almost want to go to school again.
Right.
So so I went to Asala in Charleston like before the pandemic, and I was like, why have I not been going to these conferences? This is just like the bomb. It was really cool because if you all haven't gone, you should go, like everybody in this room. It is a mix of, most scholarly conferences are that. Like people are studying this, doing this, that's their specialty. People are all in the same studying like Black studies, but it's like the top global diasporic scholars all the way down to the layperson who's like studying genealogy, and everybody's like mixing together. So it's like students, everybody. It's a solace. It's African American Association of African American Life and History. It's Carter G. Woodson's organization, and so it's in a different city every year. So
and they also sponsor. They actually set the theme for Black History.
Yes, for the year.
So there's an actual theme.
Yep.
That's a universal theme. And next year, 2026, I think they're celebrating their 150th.
Yes, there's a milestone anniversary. Yeah. And so, though Dr. Powers is amazing, like he's still active. He's retired from the College of Charleston. He's now running the Slavery Center and Legacy Center. I don't know the name of it, but it's a center of emphasizing slavery down in Charleston. He was like interim director at some point of I Am, like he's involved, he's in the mix. But there through Asala, I was like, man, I was just really excited because African American history has like really evolved into like really telling the stories of resistance. So like I was hearing stuff I never heard of, like so when I was in school in the 90s, like it was just taught different. It's like almost there's more information that's been pulled to the forefront. So for example, one of the stories that I was blown away by that I learned at that conference in like 2019 was about Mum Bet. Have y'all heard of Mum Bet? No. So Mum Bet was an enslaved person in New England somewhere in the 1700s. And there was a situation where she was in the big house and there were younger enslaved girls. The white woman of the house picked up something and threw it at, tried to violate the young girl, like a brick or something. Mum Bet put her arm up and blocked it, and it gashed her arm. And so after that, there was like a dinner. And she refused to bandage her arm. So she's like serving these white people with her bloody arm. But that's only part of the story. The other part of the story is she went and got herself an attorney. And she sued for her freedom and won. And so, just hearing Mum Bet, and her name is Elizabeth Freeman. Yeah, thank you. Elizabeth Freeman is what she, yes.
So,
Yeah.
and this is
So and this is why I wanted to ask the question, right? Because the 90s, like early 2000, I'm just curious about, because you've been in this work for a couple of decades now.
That's true.
So how
Aging
that
me now.
sorry.
It's just seasoning. It's just seasoning. Yeah, seasoning. Yeah,
And it's a blessing to live.
Yeah, it is.
Amen.
It is.
So yeah, like how that early, because I just know like U.S. history education can be a little bit.
Well, let me clarify, because it's history degree is what I have, and we did everything. I did like European history, U.S. history, and I was looking for Black history because it's amazing. Like you taking U.S. history courses and it's not really there. I took urban history, one of my favorite courses. So it was around the horn. So really, that emphasis is what I ended up studying, which was Black history focused as well. Yeah. So it's
I'm gonna take that as a segue to my next question.
okay.
So you have your undergrad is in U.S. history,
Yeah.
and do you have a master's degree?
I do.
And what is it in?
It's in history, museum studies.
Okay, pause that. But in between, did you go directly from undergrad to your master's?
No.
You have something that happens in your life between them.
I went to work.
And I want you to talk about where
about
did you
what
go
happened.
work?
Okay. So I graduated from college in Charleston, and prior to that, I did an internship here in Washington D.C. in the Smithsonian Institution at the Arts and Industries Building. Actually, I worked for Smithsonian Institution of Art. And just a little fun story about that is, it wasn't my first museum experience. I want to back up. When I was a student at the College of Charleston, I realized what I want to do with my life and work in museums, which is a whole nother story.
That's how you came out of the college. You knew you wanted to work in museums.
I did,
Okay.
yeah. But I realized that in working in career services, but that's another story. But so in career services, I was assisting students with like getting internships, writing cover letters, resumes, and all that. And I was like, Kim, you need to find yourself an internship. Like, what are you doing? So I ended up applying for an internship at the Smithsonian Institution. A paid internship at that, and I was awarded it. And I remember when I wrote my letter that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like, put me wherever y'all need me type of thing. And I ended up with these wonderful people at Smithsonian Institution Archives. I'm still in touch with the people who I work for. And it was in, if y'all know, the Smithsonian Archives used to be in the Arts and Industries building. Y'all know that building?
Right.
So,
It used to be history and technology, right?
Yep. So that was predates the National Museum of American History. So, but the fun fact about the Arts and Industries building is that the same person who designed that building designed the Sumner School. Yeah, Adolf Klus designed that building. So that's
Who was the person who designed
Adolf Klus who designed the Sumner. Yeah, German immigrant. So
Eastern Market.
yep, designed Eastern Market and Calvary Baptist Church, which is at 8th and 8th Street. It's another red brick building. So yeah, he was prolific at a time.
You can see the similarities in the structures.
Yeah.
Red brick. Huh?
Yep, red brick. So So what I ended up doing, so I interned there, right, and then I went back to school. But while I was interning, last month, if y'all were here, Miss Niani Kilkenny was here.
Oh yeah.
And she's a mentor of mine, so we didn't really get into it last week. But when I interned at the archives, which was great, it was fantastic. I had a roommate who went to Oberlin, and she was working in a program in African American culture at American History, which Niani was a director at the time. And every day she was talking about what they were doing, and Niani this and Niani that, and all the people. And I was like, I said, I want to go work there next year. So what happened was I actually met Niani, that summer. And long story short, when I graduated from College of Charleston, I actually had a job offer to go work for the Gilder Lehrman Institute. Do y'all know Gilder Lehrman? It's out of Yale University.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, and they're a center on the study of slavery, and they're still around. So it was some, entry level position, and it was going to be in New York. And I was like, I can't afford to live in New York. But they were like, we can pay for you to commute. You can live in New Jersey, this, that, and the third. But I just wasn't comfortable. So I said, you know what? Let me take the risk. I did another internship instead of taking a job. I did another internship in DC, and I worked in the program in African American culture. And so I ain't had no job, y'all. I had a 3-month internship. So, but while I was there, I was like, I went and met the HR director at the museum, and I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to work in museums, and I'm looking for anything, an entry-level position to get my foot in the door. And lo and behold, y'all, something happened. I was able to get a position in August when my internship ended, and I worked as a management support assistant in the Office of Capital Projects is what that was called. So I worked for an associate director that was managing the Star Spangled Banner. You mentioned history and technology, like they built the National Museum of African American History, of American history for the Star Spangled Banner. That's just another fun
That's
thing.
what you see when you come in.
Yeah, that's what they built that museum for, that flag, because it used to be in the Arts and Industries building. Yeah, but that's like their feature artifact. So it was fun. I worked in that division. I knew it was going to be temporary, but just long story short, that was the associate director was on his way to retirement. It was like a hodgepodge thing, but it was just so fruitful. I was just talking about my office mate, Victor Honoretti, a Nigerian brother, who was my office mate.
So that's Victor's in that film.
Victor,
Okay.
yeah. So he was my office partner. So he did all the accounts payable and stuff. I did like all the support of the associate director, the conservators, all of that. So, but he taught me everything. He was like on point. I was just talking about him. He'd be there early every day. He'd take his lunch at the same time every day to the 9s. He taught me everything. So it was like I was indispensable in like operations and procurement, which isn't really where I was trying to go, but it's all very relevant and foundational. So what happened was my supervisor eventually retired, which I knew was going to happen, and I got recruited to come work in the the operations pool of people, which was also amazing. So I worked with people with the operations. If people needed to procure things from eBay for the collections, like we were running petty cash, the whole thing, travel, all of that. So I knew the whole PeopleSoft system to do that. And then was that?
We saying P cards and stuff.
Oh yeah. I used to do all of that. Yeah, the P cards, the whole 9. So I know operations. So when they be trying to play with me now about operations, I'm like, no, I know how this works. Y'all supposed to have a policy, do this, do that. So don't play with me. So I was in really operations, the guts of the museum, in that regard. And then I got recruited to work for the associate director for curatorial affairs because the person, Miss Joyce Ramey, who's now an ancestor, she opened that museum. So what you call the history and technology museum, that's from the 60s. So that lets you know something. So the associate director of curatorial affairs, he was actually recruited by Lonnie Bunch. You all know him. His name is Jim Gardner. He came down the hall and asked me if I wanted to come work in his office. And so then I had some leverage because I was like, okay, at this point I knew I was like, in order to get out of this place and like move forward, I had to go back to school because this is not working. So they bring people in with no skills or whatever, but once you kind of in a position, you're like pigeonholed, you know what I'm saying? So I was already studying for the GED and all this stuff, and so I was like, okay, you want me to come up work here? I said, let me be transparent with you. Like, I'm GRE, excuse me, GRE. Yeah, GRE. So,
just want to get the records straight.
Yeah, GRE. So I was studying for that. You see, I've forgotten. I don't ever want to take another GRE. That's a whole nother story. But I was studying and planning, looking at graduate programs, things like that. So when Jim came down, I said, well, I'm on my way up out of here. Like, I'll come work, but this is who I am, what I'm doing. Because I remember something from Dr. Powers from way back. He was like, let people know what you want to do so they can help you. So immediately he was like, he would like pay for me to go to conferences, professional conferences, like out of the budget. He would, I did like, what do you call it? Like, he had me go work with curators because he was recruited to work this 9 to 5, but he had been a consultant. He was like one of the pioneers of like public history, with NCPH and other things like that. He was published all these things. So he was like, I think it's important to understand like artifact handling, material culture. So he was like, go work with social history or political history like twice a week. He would let me do stuff like that. So, and then when it came time to apply for graduate school, he helped me, like navigate what was going on. He even told me like some intel about certain programs behind the scenes that weren't public, things like that. So, long story short, I eventually left and went to graduate school, and I chose the Cooperstown graduate program, part of the State University of New York system. So I left DC, packed up my little apartment, and went to white upstate New York, a little village with 2,000 people, where the Baseball Hall of Fame is. It's like the first museum studies program in the country, one of the earliest. It's very reputable, it's very hands-on. Like the first thing we did was we did a strategic plan for a local museum. Like that's what we did like as a class project. Small classes, there were like 15 of us in a class. So yeah, I sacrificed to go up there for a couple of years.
And then Ron Mam, the Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, Mid-Atlantic. So exactly.
Yeah.
So Gretchen Soren, who's an
Yeah.
African American, she's a director of the program.
That's right.
She
was your director?
Yep, she was my director. Yep. So she's very much involved in Mid-Atlantic Association of Museums and has the students pretty much running it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Questions. Have you ever thought of going forward slightly? Have you thought about what you could bring to the table for African American churches and curating people? I don't know that many churches understand about what curating really is. I'm a Shiloh Baptist.
No,
We
it's
have
so.
lots of
So it's
artifacts.
so that is moving forward because I do outside of my museum work, I do consulting work. So GTMF Legacy Enterprise we'll talk about.
I'm gonna get to that.
But yes, I thought about that. And actually I'm in conversation with someone right now about pulling together like a
You got your business cards, right?
yeah.
Okay. Good.
I was sure you
Yes,
were
ma'am.
there, but I just had to throw it out.
Yeah, no, it's important.
Well, thank you for that. So moving right along. So you are at Sumner Museum. Did you say what your position is at the Sumner Museum?
I'm the executive director
Okay.
of the museum.
And
Yes.
my simple question is, how many years have you been at the Sumner Museum? And after that, just because I have some behind the curtain knowledge, I want you to share the story of how you got that position.
Goodness. I've been there for 17 and a half years. That's a long time.
Holding it down.
Yeah,
And
holding it down.
you're the third
I'm the
black
third
director?
I'm the third
Black
director.
director?
No, third director, first black.
Oh, okay. You know.
And how did and the job? Oh my gosh! So
You a pioneer, Kim.
I thought it was here.
What you looking for over there?
I'm looking for my.
Oh, mommy.
Your thesis.
Yeah.
Come on, please just pull it out.
It's relevant, right? I don't know where it is. I thought it was here.
That's right. You can tell us.
But so at Cooperstown graduate program, you have a couple of tracks that you can do. You can do like some museum related thesis. I don't know what they do now, but at the time, or you could do like an academic thesis paper, and I did that. I wanted to write my paper on Aaron Douglas. On Aaron Douglas, but they wouldn't let me do it because they're like, just finish it because it would require travel, this, that, and the third. The artist, the Harlem Renaissance artist. But I ended up writing my thesis on Nannie Helen Burroughs, which is
That's an interesting choice.
yeah. And I wrote about her as the architect of the modern civil rights movement. So like she's a progressive era figure, and the National Baptist Convention is what she was critical in starting at 19 years old. And as you know, the National Training School later she went and got that money for the farmland because the Baptist people was tripping. They was like, she had too much power as this woman. They didn't want to give her this power. So she went and raised the money herself, got that land, and started this school. And there were people like Dr. Martin Luther King's mother was like, I saw these letters, where she's giving money to cause and things like that. So I placed her, as a foundation builder of what we know as the modern civil rights movement of the 60s, because she dies in 1961. This is all relevant, tying back to American history when I was doing cross training in political history. Her collection is there, like not really being dealt with. I've talked to Dr. Joy Kennard at the American History Museum in their collection. So Dr. Joy Kennard, if y'all know her, she is now the chair of like political history, which is a turn of the tide for the museum in general. And and so someone like her, and this is why it's so important for us to be in these spaces. She knows who Nanny Helen Burroughs is, and she is actively trying to do something with that material. So what I say, this was 20-some years ago. So part of what I was working with, I was intrigued by her, and seeing her materials, like her cash register from the school was in there and a lot of different things. So I'm working on this thesis, trying to get it done, to graduate and all that good stuff. And I'm also looking for jobs, and I'm actively looking in Washington, D.C. I want to come back to D.C. I mean, there are lots of museums here, etc. So I'm looking on D.C. government website. And oddly, there's like this museum job on the DC government website, which is also strange. And then this was like 3-4 o'clock in the morning when I saw this position, and I'm writing about Nanny Helen Burroughs, and I'm reading about the Charles Sumner School on M Street. Like, I lived in DC for several years. I didn't know this place existed. And I was like, it's on M Street, that's where Nanny Helen Burroughs went to school. Like, she's giving me an omen. Like, I was doing the most. That's not really true. But that was what I was thinking in the moment. Like, I was like, what's happening? So,
ancestral power.
yeah. So I applied for the position. I applied for several positions, and I got an interview for a position here in the area. So I came for an interview. I traveled from New York with my poor self to the interview. And I had a wonderful interview with other directors of other places. And they liked me too, apparently, because they wanted me to come back for a second interview, like travel. But it was very odd. It was the person whose baby this was. Like, it was with an individual person who was like a senior manager, I suppose, who wanted to meet with me. So I traveled my little poor self down here to DC for this interview, and I met with this woman, and it was, how do I describe it? She was playing in my face, y'all. Like, we in the interview, and it was just me and her. I went to like the main office, and she was just like, I can't remember the specifics. Sometimes stuff I think exits on purpose, but I remember she didn't ask me anything. It's like she's wanting to like run me over. Like, she had someone else in mind for the position, and they were like really pushing for me. So she even said something like her niece was trying to find a job and couldn't find a job. And
In your interview.
in my interview, and she was like, there are many other qualified people.
In between the lines, you're taking our jobs.
Yeah, so she was just like, didn't ask me anything, and I was just like, I'm sitting up here in DC, like what's going on? But y'all know the next day, Aussie. They called and they were like, can you come in tomorrow for an interview for the Sumner Museum?
Well, of course I can.
I'm here. Now, I didn't have all my back then we had like, hard copy portfolios, things are different now. So I didn't have my little Sumner portfolio, but, I had a suit and I had, the thing. So I went on over there for the interview. So that was all, I got the job. But what I was going to say is, back to these people. So anyway, they had like a $30,000 like range on the job, and they were trying to pay me at the bottom. That's the other part. And I was like, I was making this before graduate school, so right, or no. So it was just serendipitous that I ended up in Sumner. I'll put it on the light side.
I'm gonna leave you alone, director.
Yeah.
Because after this we can have greater conversations.
Yeah.
So you got the job, the position, and so because I know a little something about you, what was going on? Okay, and so the Sumner Museum is what? What is its purpose?
It's the purpose and function is to preserve the history of DC public education.
Okay,
With the emphasis on black education, but still with origin archives from 1804.
And it is a museum.
Yep, it's a museum, archives, research library, and exhibition.
And so
space.
when you landed in that spot, what was going on in the DC public school system when you got that job? And not so much that, a little bit of that, but what I think is important, what did you do? You did something that I tout you and laud you for having done. What did you do?
Well, when I arrived in 2008, there was historic school closures that happened. So never before in the history of public schools do I know this now. 23 schools closed at one time. So so that summer I went around to all 23 schools and collected materials like history. Saved the history.
That's a Black Star superhero.
I went to Bertie Backus was one of them too, because so there were 23 schools. It's so funny because I should have been published, but I'm writing the stories, reconstructing everything. But I ran across the spreadsheet that I was given and my little notes and all that. The first school I went to was Anthony Bowen down in Southwest, and so I remember things. I went inside of so. There were schools that were closing, and there was also in conjunction with like school modernization period under Alan Liu, who's now an ancestor. But they were these things were happening that were critical to get in and save school history because they just throw that stuff in the trash. I mean, and have been doing it, and still do it. I do what I can, but yeah. So there was 23 schools that year. A few years after that, there was another 14 or 15. So there were about 40 schools within like a 5-6 year span that closed in DC. And so, it's just a mess. So, I was just showing up. It was an emotional period. Show up on site because I was calling people. Nobody was calling me back.
In the schools?
Well, while they're in their closed shuttering, so I would see principals in there with shorts on, and they're like they're trying to figure out where the teachers are going. It's not there's this characterization that we're closing the schools, but then you get in there and you see the people. They care. But like it's a whole conundrum. It's heartbreaking. So I'm in here trying to be focused on the collection, but then you have to maneuver and deal with all of I witnessed all of that in the throes, and even people who were devastated that they weren't able to save their school from the chopping block. John Burroughs was a particular school that it took me forever to watch, waiting for Superman. But that documentary, they highlight what happened at Burroughs about a community, just like they put a plan to Michelle Reed, like, don't close our school, whatever, and they were successful. But
and they're demoing it right now.
Well, yeah, they are. They're like rebuilding a new school. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it moving.
Yeah, we gotta come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back. Okay, so you've been there for 18 years.
Going on, it'll be 18 years.
So my next question is, I just want you to please share with us some of the names of the distinguished educators and stakeholders you have known who are no longer here.
You mean deceased?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. Floretta,
just a couple. Give me three. Three people profound impact on you. Take a minute.
Oh, profound impact on me.
Yes.
There are a lot of people. Oh, Mr. Garnett Hammond was an alumni of the school. So the thing about being somewhere for like 17, 18 years, and you meet people that are already like elders. I don't know, and then especially with the pandemic, you lose contact with people, and then I came back and looking for people, and they left. So, or I didn't survive that period, but there are lots of people. Mostly alumni
people
members.
Come to the museum.
Yeah, mostly alumni members who were like trying to really do something with preserving.
Mr. Hammond.
Mr. Hammond, yeah. Mr. Pittman. Yeah, I named Mr. Hammond already. Mr. Pittman, Mr. Milligan from Armstrong. So many. So
one of the things that I volunteer at the museum now, so that's kind of one of the things. So, what's the name of the brother?
Miss Webb. Bill Webb's wife.
What's the name of the brother that you did did the tribute to? His fraternity brothers came out to it. He did it.
Oh, that's Dr. Andrew Jenkins. He's still alive.
He's still alive.
Yeah, he's still alive. His wife
has passed
away. Miss Dorothy.
Okay.
Yeah, Dorothy Jenkins. Yeah. So, and that's another thing, because I have Dr. Andrew Jenkins' oral history with Miss Dorothy's insistence, but she would not sit herself down for an interview. I'm like, I need to get your story, because she was a guidance counselor and really the driving force behind him. Do y'all remember Dr. Andrew Jenkins? Y'all know that name? He was a superintendent Yeah, in the 1980s.
I worked.
Yeah.
I was in the superintendent's office when he
So
was
you
there.
know, yeah, he came behind Loretta Dukes McKenzie, and oh yeah.
Oh no, I do remember after
Yeah.
So what was unique about him? Maybe I should say that.
What was interesting,
very
unique,
about
is he was pushing an African centered curriculum
Yeah, I remember.
as a
in the
means
DC
to
public
help
school
in the
system.
DC public school system.
And you said you have his oral history as
I have his oral history, yeah, and his papers. I went to his house and got his stuff
Wow.
out of his garage. So
remember
because there wasn't there, so yes, we had the event for him because what happened, Dr. Jenkins, I'll tell this story, is you know. DC is complicated, all the politics, there's always some drama, you know? And so it doesn't really impact me. Like if I hear a story, I'm just like, yeah, that sounds about right, you know? So, but he was actually, I mean, he was, but, well, I'm saying, you know, I mean, it's just the way things are, you know, but you don't think about how people are impacted. So there's an organization called the School Club that dates back to the early 1900s of black male administrators is where it started, and then they expanded. They still meet to this day, and so Dr. Jenkins is a part of that, and they would meet at Sumner sometimes. So you know, I'm reading about Dr. Jenkins. He's like a local hero. So he walks up in the building. I'm like, Dr. Jenkins, come with me. Let me show you what we got in the archives. Blah, 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 you know, and I remember him when I met him. He was just very tentative, and he was looking like, oh, you know, and all of that. But what happened was his wife came up to the museum and she was going crazy. She was crying. She said, Andy came home and was talking about, you know, Sumner, you know, like what happened. And, you know, she said he never talks about, you know, like that time. And she talked about how their family was so injured from what happened. They have one daughter and all this stuff. And so that's what kind of led to us doing that event. But, you know, it just developed this relationship, and that's why I went to his home to, like, collect things that we didn't have. There wasn't really a lot of record there. But as I started studying him more for the event, it was a trip. He is from South Carolina. He came to D.C. when he was 2 years old. And so he attended all the public schools. He went through the ranks. He was like a science PE teacher, on and on, became superintendent. He went through but he's a quiet man. But Dorothy, not so much. His wife, she was something. she was a whippersnapper, you know, and really kind of the driving force. Yeah, and so he was a quiet man, and so in our interview, because it's on record, she's sitting in the interview, so her voice is on the oral history. So he's giving the diplomatic version. They treated him like that because he was dark skinned and black. You know, she went into this whole thing. You know, she was like, tell it like it is. Yeah. So it was her. She came to push this thing. She couldn't believe he came home talking about it. I was following the Washington Post coverage of him. And they were like, who was this guy? You know, they were like, where did he come from? Type of thing. And they didn't know what he was going to do. And they didn't expect much of him, right? And they had a 90-day period for him to do stuff. And then he turned around after the 90-day period and Washington Post, he's moving too quick. He's doing that. I'm like, what y'all want from the man? So he got in there and he was working and they were criticizing him. I'm like, you damn if you do, you damn if you don't. You know, the way it rolls. So what happened with him is he was terminated. And people protested. And they were like blaming him. I'm like, how you gonna blame him for like people not wanting him to leave and protesting? And they were like, his people out here, blah, 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 blah. And but what happened with the family is they were not allowed to do that. He went up through the ranks, so they could not just terminate him. They had to take him back to his previous position. So they ended up suing DC Public Schools, and he worked under Frank Smith, in the office. And he actually ran the state education office program, so for DCPS.
American Civil War Museum, Frank Smith?
No, different Frank Smith. Yeah, he's from out of town. So that's some of the rewarding work to even, because we were able to do something to acknowledge him, brought in his papers and that sort of thing. So, yeah, that's one.
Thank you. What organizations are you a part of?
Most actively, National Council of Public History, lifelong member of.
And if you're a board member, let us know.
Former for NCPH.
Okay.
The Association of African American Museums, I'm a lifetime member of that organization. I'm also a member of Delta Kappa Gamma, which is a education society, international society.
Not just a member, but
former president.
Thank you.
Yeah, outgoing for the state. I think that's about it right now.
Which is, and that organization is a teachers
Educators, yeah.
educator
Key
organization.
women educators.
All right.
Women, well, yeah.
Okay. Also, you are a founding board member
of Friends of Sumner.
Thank you. Please share your entrepreneurial endeavors.
Okay, so I have a few of them, but I make shea butter, baby skin soft superstar butter.
Right.
So yeah, I have that. I also started, I guess.
How did you come to make that?
Oh gosh.
Real quick.
Well, I started making it because I was getting rid of.
Eczema?
No. Just not using Jergens and all of that. I wanted to make a product that was didn't have all that poison. This is the product, baby skin soft superstar butter. So Vance and I had a son, 10 years ago.
10 years.
Yeah, this is now Congo, and he survived only 9 days. So, but what happened was I was making the product before, like I said, to get rid of all the poisonous things. And but for his baby shower, one of my friends who makes like cleaning, she makes stuff. And she was like, gave me a little hint about how to, she said, you should make that for favors for the baby shower, So she gave me a few little tips and I started, formalizing it. And in particular for the baby shower. And then like everybody was asking for it. So that's kind of how it developed. So this has been like 10 years roughly in the making. Yeah. And so Vance drew that, he painted that.
That's the picture that's on
And
the
that's
altar.
and that is Nile there. That's on the altar. That's that's his altar. Yeah.
Look, just like that.
He in the urn too.
Yeah, he's right there. Yeah, he's here.
That's so good.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, with it.
I said, I'll see you later.
yeah. So he's now going everywhere. I made my first international sale in Madrid, Spain. So he's all over the world, But yeah, so that's what this is
What
about.
country?
Spain.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. That's another story. But I did a English immersion program for Spaniards, and there was a linguist professor. We did three truths and a lie. So they thought I was lying about this, and I was like, okay, now y'all gotta buy because that was the truth. So anyway, so that was my first international sale because I had them on me. You can travel with 2 ounces. So
That's right.
And it's in the back.
yeah, and it's in the back,
Yeah,
so you can buy some if you like.
And I'm a customer. I've been using it for the past month.
Who else is a customer?
And
Who
it
else?
has cloves in it. I'm a huge fan of cloves, and it's wonderful.
She knows the cloves.
Well, I put it on my face. It's really good.
And see how beautiful her face looks.
Yes, I love it.
Thank you so much.
Take it.
Condolences.
Oh,
I didn't know
thank
this
you.
was real.
Yeah, that's Nile. So
What's in it, Mom?
There's coconut in it, right? Because I
Coconut-
bought it.
coconut
I bought it, but I had to buy it
because
from
you
somebody
can't
else
do-
because
yeah.
I can't do coconut.
coconut oil.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, coconut oil is in here. Yeah, coconut oil, shea butter, and castor oil are the base oils. And then I'm really trying to expand more is GTMS Legacy Enterprises, which is presenting the Cultural Salon series, Shameless Love. And
What is GTMS?
GTMS is they're my family surnames. So it's Green, Thomas, McIntyre, Springle is what that is. And so, and it drives what I do around cultural preservation. I help people who are trying to do like genealogy study, workshops for people trying to preserve history like churches, people who might be trying to preserve their family heirlooms, so a variety of things connected to preservation. So Revive Collectibles is, again, part of my love of history and just nice things, old things. I had too much of this stuff going on, so I was like, I actually kind of found
You gotta hold it.
I actually kind of found a honey hole of finding things in New England. I have a friend who I work with in the procurement division of American History. See, it all goes back. Who she's a Washingtonian, but she had a wonderful childhood, a few years in New London, Connecticut. And when she retired, she wanted to spend time and live there. So I go visit her. So before the pandemic, so she's actually kind of put me on to thrifting like all this depression glass, and I got my first like carnival glass piece with her because she's old enough to be my mother. So I was like this little 21, 22-year-old rolling with this lady from the museum. So she's a close friend of mine. So I was like, I said it'd be nice to like, procure some of these beautiful things that I don't need in my house. I got too much stuff and like resell. And so kind of the pandemic hit, and so we were doing it over at Vance's place in Columbia Heights. We had the cool old stuff like sidewalk sales, and so it kind of grew from there. And then I just kept just getting opportunities to, just acquire things. Beautiful things were happening. It was like more social capital. We were doing well, but meeting all kinds of people just connecting with people. And I think in particular with the pandemic, it was great because a lot of stores weren't open, so people were looking. They were like looking for us. So we were rolling like on a weekly basis. We would do it like we would just set up on the line all year long. It'd be cold, we'd be beating up the mosquitoes, like we were out there. And so that continued, and we had a little shop on George Avenue across from Howard for a little minute. So Revive Collectibles is another thing. But cool things that were happening was I would pick up some things. I pick up, because this is gorgeous. I mean, like, why wouldn't I pick this up? So, yeah, you said what? Get pressed glass. Yeah. Well, this is pressed glass, but this is Depression era piece. Yeah,
It's like Emerald City.
I know. It's pretty beautiful. But what would happen is I would find things that really connected with people. Like I picked up these like Japanese plate sets, and this man on the street was like, I had the set, this was my mom's set, and I was missing this plate. So then I was like, oh, I acquired like this entire like peach luster set. I don't know if y'all familiar, but it's like it's iridescent, beautiful, brand new. It still had the stickers on it. And a friend of mine that I went to college with, she said her grandmother raised her, and when her grandmother died, family stuff, an aunt or some made sure she got nothing, and so she was like, my grandmother had this set, and so she got the set, so she's like, now I have something that reminds me of my grandmother. So it's just something fun, and I like, connecting with people. It's a way to talk about the history and origin, about a history. I mean, just learning about the makers and the factories. It's like really in line with like the industrial age of America. It's all these things. So I have some glasses that I acquired. You see it?
Can you read that?
This is a set of 4 glasses I found, and I got these in Pennsylvania. I think we were in Pennsylvania. So in here was a note that said these were given a Christmas gift, 1922, to Mom. It's got a name. This is something from Hetty Morgan. So yeah, these glasses are like over 100 years old.
Oh my God, it's 103 years old. That's crazy.
So yeah, so yeah, it's just fun, and then you just never know what people are looking for. So.
And you have some around the house?
All around the house, under the table, Y'all take a look.
Okay, well, I'm going to say thank you very much, Kimberly Springle.
Thank you.